And let everybody,
Someone has to mute.
me.
Awesome. Okay. Hey, guess what? We have a picture and we can, hopefully people can hear us. Meryl, shake your head. Can you hear
Yay.
All right.
us?
Becky, I need a list of whoever's in town hall.
We have Sean Gennaro
Yes,
Gennaro
general.
is in town hall, and we have had a bit of technical difficulty, but
Susan.
and Susie Mosher is in town hall along with Eric Stalker, Melissa, and myself.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay. So I will call the Shutesbury Selectboard meeting to order and go over the agenda. We first at 5:30 have open, it says open meeting, but I believe it means open public comment. The review the agenda, open meeting, review the agenda, I'm sorry, public comments down further. Review minutes from January 30th. Review and appoint of a recycling coordinator. Select board presentation by National Grid Outreach Team. Then we have the EV charger update and town administrator updates. Becky, is there anything that popped up in the last 48 hours that we need to add?
Yes.
Okay.
Our fire chief has 2 contracts for us to sign.
Oh, yeah.
One's an EMPC plan and the other's an equipment plan.
Okay.
And we also have a maintenance contract from CAI, which provides us with mapping services.
I like the GIS.
Yeah.
All right. we can-
So, and that's from the assessor. So we have those 3 items to work in.
Is that nice? Eric, do you want?
No, I don't, thank you.
All right. So Eric, do you have anything you'd like to add to the agenda?
No,
All right, then we'll move on to open public comment. If you have a public comment, please use the raise hand feature on your screen. And you can do that now if you'd like. Okay, I'm not seeing it. All right, do I hear,
I have
yeah.
one request that maybe. Yeah, no, I
Go
was
ahead.
thinking that John was farther down on the agenda, but it should be okay. It's just a minute. I didn't want you to have to sit through the whole presentation.
as much fun as it is. My wife. Yeah, all right.
Okay, so do I hear a motion to approve the minutes of January 30th, 2024?
So moved, and I might add that, in my opinion, they were excellent. It's one of those minutes that you just go, "Oh, very good."
I don't disagree. Thank you, Geneva, very much. And Becky, all those team players. Okay, so do I hear a motion?
You do a motion to approve the minutes from January 30th, I'm sorry.
I will second that. Any additions or corrections?
I didn't see anything in there.
All right, all in favor?
Stalker, aye.
Make O'Neill, aye. Okay, moving right along to review and appointment of recycling coordinator, Meryl. And
Thank you very much. Oh,
introduce here as the person to appoint. So Meryl, go ahead and fill us in.
sure. Just quickly, I will say that we posted the job position on the town webpage, and Sean noticed it there and recognized that he really wanted to get more involved in town activities and bring more younger people on board. And this job appealed to him. Gary met with him first, and they had a very productive and positive meeting. And a little bit later on, Becky and I met with Sean and were very impressed with his interest in the position, some of his background and knowledge. He knows quite a bit about hazardous waste materials and is interested in learning more about town and recycling, and just seems really available and ready to help us out. And I would just like to recommend him for the position of recycling coordinator. He might want to say a few words also, but I'm sure the recycling committee and town residents will be very happy to have him on board. And I know Gary is too. And I will say also that Gary is poised to hand off a number of activities to Sean once he has been approved in this position. So Becky, Gary, and I highly recommend him. He hasn't had a chance to sit down yet with the board, but he has gotten some of our emails and other writings. So we're looking forward to working with him.
John, welcome. Do you want to tell us a little bit about yourself?
I'm fairly new to town. We moved here in December 2019, right before COVID. Luckily,
Yeah.
with home values and everything else. So I got a 5-year-old daughter and married, live down off of Merrill Drive. And we really like it here. And if it wasn't for living here during COVID, we probably would have went insane.
It is a way to live.
Yeah, it is. And just looking forward to working with all of you, and yeah, that's about it.
Eric, do you?
Can you just go into like what, maybe just briefly touch on what might be your qualifications and everything?
Yeah, so I work for Westover Air Force Base as an avionics technician, and within there we have a lot of additional duties that we perform. And one of my additional duties at one time was the hazardous waste manager on our site for a satellite accumulation point. That's where we collected fuel filters, oil filters, hydraulic fluid, rags, or any type of hazardous material. And we work closely with the environmental on base to ensure that those are all being disposed of properly. Work with the pharmacy with anything with sealants, batteries. That was a little while ago, so I'm a little rusty at it, but I have received a lot of training in that. And when I saw this open, I know we don't have a lot of hazardous waste in town, but the principles are all there in the same.
Great.
Okay. Do I hear a motion?
You do, I make a motion to appoint Sean Genero. See, we. Be the recycling coordinator.
I'll second that. Any further questions or discussion? All in favor?
Stalker, aye.
Make O'Neill, aye. Welcome, Sean.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Mentioned one of his other qualifications, he has a pickup truck.
Oh, good. Don't ever tell anybody it's a pickup truck. That was fun.
I have to say that we went through the list of job requirements with him in detail, and he didn't run away. So we were very excited about
All
that.
right.
And also explain that a number of things on there aren't requirements that are done very often. So he seemed very enthusiastic, and Sean, we're really happy to have you join our team, and Gary and I will both be in touch with you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
very much.
So much.
Thank you.
You're free to,
You're free to go if you want to
What do you want to say?
stay. Dinner. Yeah.
All right, let's move along to the select board presentation by National Grid Outreach Team. Oh,
Yes,
they're
good
popping.
evening. How are
Good
you?
evening. Thank you, Joe.
Awesome.
Um,
How do you guys make out with the snow today? Was it as bad as the forecasters were
No.
I'm
saying?
still waiting for it to accumulate in any significant way, like flurries.
Blizzard of Lot 24.
we can still see blacktop here.
All right, I'm glad to hear. Same down here where I am, so just wanted to check.
Always the case, though, I have to admit.
But yeah, so thank you very much for the opportunity to join you this evening. I just want to check Madison is also on this call, and I want to see if she's able to share
is.
her slide deck.
Oh,
Let
you,
me
make
give
me
her
a co-host too, just
permission.
in case we go.
Yeah.
Becky's gonna make me co-host in case something happens with one computer, so we don't lose everybody.
Okay.
Made Madison
Yep.
co-host
Go ahead.
as well.
All right, awesome. And I can kind of get started while that's loading up and give a little bit of a description of why we're here tonight and what we're looking to gain. So we're here tonight really to provide a high-level overview of a future proposed project on our E5 F6 transmission line that runs through your community. Again, this is a few years out from construction, so we're really here trying to be very proactive, engaging with the communities, and really get ahead of the permitting process, permitting efforts. On that previous slide, Madison, if you could go back real quick, I just want to highlight the title. So when it comes to our external communication efforts, such as permitting, mailers to abutters, and any general project information, project outreach, we're referring to the project as the Central to Western Mass Energy Improvement Project. We really wanted to rebrand the title to relate it more to the communities in the area that we're working, partly in hopes that when it comes to our outreach, we might, gauge the interest a little bit more from abutters, rather than if they see E5 F6 transmission line, they may look at that and, not know where it is. So the hopes of the title Central to Western Mass, we're hoping to pique the interest and maybe gain a little more interaction with residents, with the community. So that's just a little bit about the rebranding. So I just wanted to highlight that real quick. So Madison, if you can move on. So tonight we're going to cover a few different topics. We'll go over the project overview, a little bit about the E5 F6 transmission line as a whole, and then touch on the scope of work related to the town of Shutesbury. We will showcase some of the structures that you may see within the project right away now and what the proposed structures may look like. We'll touch on a general overview of the permitting process, the project schedule as it currently stands, and then conclude with some resources available to members of the public, representatives of the town to learn more about the project and any resources, and to reach a member of the project team for any questions that they may have. And if at any point you have any questions, feel free to stop me. I'll do my best to pick up right where I left off, but we will certainly have time at the conclusion of the presentation to address any questions. We have a few different members from the project team on, so we should be able to answer any questions that you do have. But if we don't have the answer tonight, we'll take them back to the project team and get back to you as soon as possible. So with that being said, we'll get into a little project overview. So the E5 F6 transmission line was originally constructed in the early 1900s. There was some renumbering and refurbishment work done in 2001. But generally speaking, the line was originally constructed in the early 1900s. The project right away and the tap lines consist of approximately 690 structures, travels through 16 communities, and the right of way is roughly 67 to 69 miles long. The transmission line currently operates at 69 kV. kV just represents the voltage for anyone who may not be aware tonight, or if they come back and watch the presentation. When construction is concluded, the line will remain operating at 69 kV. However, the new structures will be built to the standards to operate up to 115 kV. So the goal of this project is a complete rebuild of the transmission line and the tap line. The current plan for the foreseeable future is to remain operating at 69 kV as it is currently operating. However, the structures will be built to 115 kV standards, which is a little bit of an increase in voltage. In addition to rebuilding these structures, we're also going to install optical ground wire, which is also referred to as OPGW. Really, in short, that's there to help improve the communication between these structures and stations, while also acting as a second line of defense from weather events such as lightning strikes. In addition to the structures and the optical ground wire, we will be performing any vegetation management work within the right-of-way and within the easements, as well as any access improvements where necessary and when necessary. In terms of the number of structures within the town of Shutesbury, there are 29 existing structures that we are going to be replacing with new structures and wire. So I know that's a lot of information, so I just want to pause there and if there's any clarification needed for anything we covered. No? Oh, see one hand.
I just was wondering, we just had three-phase power installed. So you're replacing structures, not wires. Is that right?
So there will be new wires within these structures. So this is the transmission line. So I'm not sure what.
Oh, we're only talking about high tension.
You're talking about what we would call high tension structures, right?
Yes, so these are the structures within the right of way. Yep, the transmission structures. Any other questions?
I had a quick question. You mentioned, I don't think you referred to it as landscaping, but that's effectively what you're doing. And that is to say you're clearing the area around the towers. Is any of that done with pesticides, chemicals, herbicides, stuff like that? Is that what?
So we do follow like the current industry standards. So that's something I can go back and get more clarification on from the first forestry department and get back to you on it. It's not something that I don't know the specific material that we use, but we do follow the current standards. So when it comes to any, we don't use anything that's not allowed within the town or within the state. But I will follow up with you and I can get some more information for you if you would like.
Great, thanks. Yeah, I would appreciate that.
All
Yeah,
those
that-
reports are on track.
All right. So we'll move on to the next slide, Madison. So this is really just a quick slide, more so for folks who come back and view the presentation after the fact. We just wanted to provide a high-level area overview to see where the transmission line is within the town. So that reddish orange line really is just kind of the visual of where the transmission right-of-way stretches through the town of Shutesbury. Now on this slide, again, more of a visual comparison. On the left-hand side are the typical E5, F6 lattice structures that you may see if you were driving by the project right away or if you were walking in there. So on the left-hand side is really what you would see now. And on the right-hand side are examples of what the proposed structures would potentially look like. So there is just a different visual aesthetic to them. So we just wanted to show on the left-hand side what is currently existing, and the right-hand side is really more of a look at what you would see post-construction.
Yeah, you had said the ones that are on the left, they were originally installed in the early 1900s, right?
Yeah, so that's when this line was originally constructed.
Didn't get electricity to 1950.
Doesn't mean we didn't get it here. The lines were put up.
The lines were put.
Yeah.
Joe, I was just mentioning, we didn't get electricity in town until 1950.
Right.
Oh,
So-
really?
They were there in the early 1900s, but
When my grandmother moved to Shutesbury, there was no electricity. She left Huntington that had electricity. So she moved here in 46.
Oh, that's
Yeah, we-
interesting.
late and slow.
My grandfather helped put some of those things up.
Oh, really? Oh,
Yeah.
cool. I'm just gonna make a little note of that. So just for my own knowledge, because it's interesting. So on this side, again, this is more of a better visual of the comparison of where the current structures are located within the right of way and where the proposed structures will be. So this is an example of an existing 125-foot right of way. In the middle, you can really see what the existing structures and where they are located. And just off of that on the left-hand side are the proposed structures. So it's really to give a visual of the general 2 to 5 foot offset of where the proposed structures will be located compared to the existing structures. And generally speaking, within the entire project right away, the proposed structures will range from 5 to 25 feet taller in height. That is partly due to the increase in voltage capacity, as well as the new wire that will be installed. So a lot of that's still to be determined, these exact structures that will, how they'll range in height. But generally speaking, the height difference will range from 5 to 25 feet taller in height. Next, we'll cover a little bit about the permitting process. Again, this doesn't encompass every permit we'll be applying for. As you can see with the anticipated schedule, 2024 to 2027, the permitting effort is significant and it's extensive. And these are just some of the efforts we wanted to highlight for this presentation. At the top is the Energy Facility Siting Board, which we anticipate filing later this spring of this year. And I wanted to highlight the third bullet for folks that may not be familiar with this process, is this does provide the opportunity for municipal and abutter participation. So the opportunity for residents, for the towns to provide comments, provide questions. So I encourage folks who aren't familiar with it to look into it and to familiarize themselves with the process. And if they have any questions, we have contact information available at the end. They can certainly reach out to us and we can do our best to answer any questions that they may have. Under that is the environmental permitting. Again, not all inclusive. One that I want to highlight is the ENF, which we anticipate filing later this month. And at the bottom, showcase some of the local permitting efforts that will take place, such as the local conservation commissions. So again, the permitting effort is extensive, and this gives a little bit of the schedule and a general overview of what we will be filing for. On this slide is really just another high-level overview of the project schedule. And these are some of the notes we want to highlight for the members of the select board. The stakeholder outreach has really been ongoing, and this is something we are committed to and will remain ongoing throughout the life of the project. That includes mailed notifications to abutters, managing a project website, local meetings such as this, or any departments within towns that want to see the presentation or have any conversations around the project. And if any abutters want a one-on-one meeting, that's something that we're always open to do in that communication. Another aspect of this project are our field assessments, which really kicked off in the summer of last year and will remain ongoing. That includes construction reviews, soil borings, environmental field work, access reviews, and cultural resource testing. So that's still ongoing and will remain ongoing. Our vegetation management really began in the summer of 2023, and we anticipate that to continue to be ongoing into and through the fall of 2024. it really kicked off ahead of our soil boring efforts. And then there will be another round of vegetation management work. We anticipate in early 2027 ahead of the construction efforts. Again, our permitting, just to reiterate and highlight, includes federal, state, and local reviews, and we anticipate the permitting efforts to begin this year and continue to 2027. And then lastly, the construction and restoration efforts, we anticipate to begin in 2027 and go into 2033. So that includes what you would think of the typical construction in the field and removing the existing structures once we complete the proposed structures and all the restoration efforts. So as you can see, I know we're in February of 2024. We're still 3+ years away from construction. So we're really trying to be proactive in having these conversations in the early engagement. And again, these dates are subject to change. As with all construction, we all know that schedules can change and delays and so forth. So this is just a really high level overview of the current project schedule. And I won't spend too much time on this because, again, this is more of a visual for folks to come back to and really familiarize themselves with some of the construction activities and equipment they may see. So on the left-hand side are some of our pre-construction activities. At the top, folks may hear us refer to matting. So it's really that's just the matting that we put on the ground to protect the ground, protect the equipment while it's out in the field. On the right-hand side are some of the typical transmission line construction equipment. And some folks, they may not be familiar with this. They may see these and kind of take a step back with the size of some of it or anything. So we just wanted folks to familiarize themselves. One picture that's not on here, and I apologize for that, is the potential use of a helicopter. So I just want folks to know that if they see a helicopter, hovering over a transmission line that they understand is related to this project. It's not a guarantee that we're going to use it, but there is a possibility. And if that is the case, all proper communication will be made, and we'll certainly follow up with police, fire, just to let them know so that if someone calls in, saying, hey, there's a helicopter hovering over this line, that they're at least aware of it so that they can have the proper response.
I saw that in Amherst. I was outside Athens one day, and they were bringing in some of the new poles, and they were bringing them by helicopter.
Yeah. So
I watched it for like an hour.
Yeah, it's something. Before I got involved in this industry, I never would have thought. I guess it makes sense, but so it's something that I learned. So I always try to make a point of mentioning it just so folks are aware.
Hey, Joe, it's Mike Terrell.
Yep. Mike, go ahead.
Yes. Hi, everyone. I'm the environmental lead for National Grid for the project. I just want to make one clarification, Joe. Sorry, I didn't catch it in the presentation, but our MEPA ENF, we've just recently adjusted the schedule, and that's a May filing.
Okay.
Not this month. We're trying to make sure we have enough information, and we give ourselves a little more time. So for the record, just wanted to clarify MEPA ENF May.
Okay, awesome. Thank you, Mike. I apologize. I didn't catch that. So that's on me.
No, that's all right. Thank you.
But so lastly, I just want to conclude again by thanking you for the opportunity to join you this evening. I apologize. I couldn't be there in person. We had our storm assignments activated, so I was gearing up for the snowstorm that didn't really come, but I'll take that. These are just some resources available. They're live right now. So members of the community or members of the town can interact, learn more about the project. We have a dedicated project hotline number. We have a project email as well as a project website that will be updated. So as we move forward with the schedule and any updates, we'll provide that. The website has the email, has the phone number. So any questions from residents, from members of the select board, members of the town, they can reach us here. We can also follow up with my National Grid email as well as Maddie's, because she's heavily involved with the public outreach. So these are some resources. They're live right now. So folks can visit the website to learn more about the project and to reach us with any questions. So with that being said, I know I said a lot, so I'll pause and I'll open it up if there are any questions. But if you think of something after the fact, feel free to reach out at any time and we'll get back to you as soon as possible.
I said a very quick question. You mentioned a couple of slides ago, you're talking about cultural resource testing. What is that? That's all I want to know what it is.
Yes.
Didn't do it.
So,
I don't know what's it referred to.
Yeah,
so
Joe, I
Mike, do
can
you want to take that?
one. Sure. Yeah, our cultural resources assessment, because we're federally regulated through the Army Corps, we need to look at historic and archaeologic resources. So we'll do a complete assessment of the line, where the structures are, where our proposed access is. And we've hired public archaeology lab, we're very experienced, do a lot of our work. And they have begun some of the field work and will be spending the rest of this spring and summer out in the field doing shovel testing at the structure locations and the impact areas to determine if there's any prehistoric finds. You know, a lot of times we find pre-contact Native American projectiles and things of that nature. And that's what PAL is looking for. So they look for above ground historic old farmsteads. They also look for below ground pre-contact Native American type resources that may come in contact with where we're proposing an impact. And we need to mitigate that through the Mass Historic Commission requirements and through tribal coordination.
Thank you.
Do you have any questions?
No,
I did not.
I just want to say thank you for all this information. We had the summer project came upon us. It was a bit of a surprise. I guess there was a new coordinator. So it's to get all this information and know what's happening is, I really appreciate it. And we'll be able to keep our community informed with your updates. We know who to reach out to, and this makes all the difference in the world. So thank you very much.
No, thank you. And, we're more than happy to come back in the future as we, get closer, whatever we can do to make sure that the communication is, as advanced as possible. We don't want construction happening tomorrow and a resident saying, hey, I had no idea this was going on. So the more communication we can do, the better. So we appreciate the opportunity, and any other time, just reach out to us and we'll be more than happy to be there.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
And one item, actually, before we conclude, I totally blanked and didn't mention this. We're also going to look to host some project open houses over the next couple of months. And with this being 16 communities, we're going to look to try and find a few good centralized locations to have those. So it provides abutters a better opportunity to interact with members of the project team, so they're not just listening to me. They can talk to, someone from engineering or from the field. So we're also looking to start scheduling those, and that is something that we can certainly provide the dates to you as well. So any opportunity to share those with the residents. So that is something that we will be in touch with over the next month or so.
Great.
Thank you very much
Thanks.
for the
Thank you.
presentation and answering questions. Thank you. Okay. Let's move on to EV charger update.
I can speak to that. Maybe Gail would like to. I don't know. She's done a lot of work on, we did meet, that is to say we, the ECAC and myself, just what the representative met to talk about the installation of chargers. We came up with a long list of questions that we're going to also just go over next time we meet. And also Gail came up with, we started with sort of an Excel spreadsheet, which was on the state website, or National Grid website. I think it's a state thing actually, but it was actually on the National Grid website. And Gail has updated that. Our idea is to contact several of the people on that list, the people look most promising, and just sort of see if there's a chance we'll get offered anything by those people that would compare with, what's that, Livingston, I think. Basically, let's just back up a second. Livingston Energy Group has offered to build 2 high-speed DC charging stations in Shutesbury, in theory at no cost to Shutesbury. We're not quite sure what that means, but that's what they've said. And the idea is to investigate and see if anybody else is doing that. Gail, do you have anything to add to that, or what to say? Or?
Well, one of the things I discovered is that Livingston, the Livingston offer had an expire date at 12/31/23, right? And
No,
was that a no?
that was a no. It was not an expire date. It was, they were saying that the terms for the information I received the first round might change, given changes in federal regulations. But they have not told me, at this point, their terms have not changed. And they have
Okay.
not expired.
But we had to get back to them with an answer by 12/31? No?
They wanted us
They
to.
requested it if
So-
possible.
One of the things that I discovered in checking out stuff on various websites was that they had a corporate agreement for a group project funding that expired 12/31/23. So I was wondering if that was a correspondence with the date that actually you had to get back to them by, because they are no longer listed as holding that contract. So they may not anymore have that kind of funding capability. Anyway, we have a long list of folks that we can approach with our questions.
So I think the next phase will be for us to meet with, have another meeting with the ECAC and figure out what questions should be to ask and who we should ask. Is that your sense of it, Gail, what our next move would be? So it's a little bit of a delay. I guess you'd say that we're playing a little bit of a waiting game here. But I think the initial reaction to the Livingston offer initially was sort of like, if these people are giving us $300,000 worth of equipment for nothing, or maybe probably someone else is, and it turns out there's a whole list of people that can provide this type of service. So the idea is to see if anybody else will do it, and even offer us more. Maybe not, maybe, I don't know. We'll find out.
Sounds good. Good.
That's the update as far as I know. There's not much to say except that, if anybody has any questions, maybe send an email to ECAC and say, I've got a question about how this is gonna work and so forth, and we can add that to the list of questions.
That sounds good. Thank you both for doing the ECAC and Eric for participating
Oh, yeah.
in that process. All right, so moving on to drum roll, the town administrator up. Oh, let's do the EMPG stuff, or do we want to?
Yeah, let's get that.
EMPG grant.
So we have,
It's emergency management, something grant, what's the P? Emergency management. Emergency management.
so that's the $2,700 for the EMPG.
Yes, this is. Emergency, yes.
And what will it do for us?
So what
Okay,
this
that's
does
for
is,
annual.
Right.
yes, this is the annual one, what this does is it allows the fire department to purchase things that are emergency management related.
Right, okay.
And some of
Yeah.
the things in the past, there've been quite a swath of stuff that they've done.
Right, but the one error, what you said, it's not just the fire
Well,
department.
emergency management.
Yes, it's police and fire, and we did only purchase fire equipment when Walter was. But that's, the police and fire are working closely together looking for items, so that's the state of that. And here is,
So can we do
we can do that.
Okay, Do I hear a motion to approve and sign the EMPD grant for 2024? Looking for a date.
Yep.
Yeah, 2024.
So moved.
Okay, any questions or? Such? Okay, all those in favor?
Stalker, aye.
Makepeace O'Neill, aye. Do you want me to sign it now?
Yeah.
Where do I sign?
Oh,
Authorize
I guess
signature?
we can worry about that.
Okay.
I'll do that after, because we have three.
Yeah, okay, this one is the,
This is the fire equipment grant that Lenny has secured, and it's for $7,000.
$792.47.
So that will, enable the fire department to purchase equipment with that grant. So it's fun.
And you called it the,
Fire equipment grant.
okay. Do I hear a motion to approve and sign the fire equipment grant for 2024?
So moved.
All right, all those in favor?
Stalker, aye.
Makepeace O'Neill, aye. Okay.
Excellent.
We'll work explanatory, fine.
And then we have from the assessors, the CAI grant, they do the maintenance of our maps, which means updating parcels when, if we have zoning changes, sometimes people go to ZBA and reconfigure their property lines, or so CAI is the company that is on contract for the last few years, and they do the updating of our map.
Okay. Do I hear a motion to renew the contract for 2024 for CIA Technologies for our assessor office?
So moved.
All those in favor?
Stalker, aye.
Makepeace O'Neill, aye. I'll find it.
We'll sign that one later as well.
Excellent.
And now, town administrator update. Some of the cues are PFAS, gasoline, and anything else that you did. Okay.
Okay, so I'll start with PFAS. We have, at this point, we had installed 2 more poets at the last time I spoke, and now that number is up to 5. So 3 more have been installed in the last few weeks. We also, and that's my update for that. We have test results just came in for our gasoline situation and are being evaluated by our LSP. So by the next meeting, I should have an update on our gasoline situation. Other updates on Friday, I had a good conversation with Morris Root, who promised to have our phase 1 dam inspection report for 2023 to me by this week. Monday morning, he delivered it to the Office of Dam Safety, completed. Well, I had checked in with him a week before, and then checked in the second time on Friday, and he had it ready to go, and it was submitted post haste. Anyway, so we're caught up on that. In between, we did get a reminder from the Office of Dam Safety that we needed to get that report in, and I was able to submit it the next day.
That's
So
pretty good.
that was a very positive thing. Last week, I guess it was the week before, I had met with 2 highway specialists from FERCog and the highway department. The highway department had a good conversation with Jack and Ryan, and they shared information about all their practices and got pointers and tips what other communities are doing. We have, the main reason for the visit is we have 2 culverts. The one is an immediate need down by this brook where it enters into the lake. We had a head wall collapse a year ago, and and that was rebuilt, but the rebuild is not maintaining. It's with the bad weather and the flooding we've had, the rocks have are tumbling in, and the other side appears to be in need of repair as well. So So our highway superintendent was getting information to see if there were anything that, any practices they were unaware of or resources that they didn't know about. But in fact, it turned out that Jack and Ryan were interviewing them a great deal about the culvert that they had been part of installing over on Wendell Road by Ames Brook, and which they are holding out as an example of an ideal culvert installation. And they think it's remarkable that our town was able to accomplish that at the cost, which was about $25,000. That had originally been quoted for 500,000 12 years ago, and Ryan compared it to a culvert that had just been installed for $1 million in another place in Franklin County. So it was an interesting conversation. Steve has taken a proactive approach, having his crew attend workshops and reaching out to other communities. One of those reach outs took them to New Salem, where they encountered the newly hired temporary highway superintendent, Tim Hunting. So if you're lonely and miss Tim, all you need to do is drive down to New Salem and you're likely to find him. He's working a 3-day work week there, from what we understand. The other thing I followed up on our MVP, our this year's round of letters of interest. We have 2 topics we're pursuing, which I've outlined before. One is initial study and work at the culvert at the mouth of the Dudleyville Dam. And the second is solar for the library. And the kingpin for MVP to fund our solar project is that we have battery backup. The battery backup will not fit in the building. If we build a building, it will not be covered at all by MBLC, which we knew. But it's likely to be at least a couple $100,000. Similar, it would be a similar hut to what we had to install for the MFD. Third option, which I briefly outlined before, I'm going back to as it has become more and more serious as a solution, is for the town to purchase an electric pickup truck or some vehicle of sufficient size to act as a battery backup for the library. And that's what I'm researching more now. It was suggested by our MVP representative. There's an article about electrical school buses. If you haven't read, I can share with you.
How long, only because thinking of winter time and what we've seen in Chicago with the electric vehicles. So how much is the electric truck? And then what is the lifespan and the replacement on the batteries? Because you might end up at that over a course of 10 years still with the $200,000. Like for the building, you might end up at that point for the 200,000.
Well, we'll have to.
Right. So, and at that point, if that's going to be the case, you might as well start at the point you'd have to. Do you know what I'm saying?
The other problem with the hut is we could not build it until a year after, unless it was well off the property. We have constraints because it can't be part of the project funded by MBLC because it's not currently part of the design.
It has to be past the warranty phase.
It has to be past the warranty phase, which could be up to 2 years. And that would be a long time not to, that would mean not having the solar for that period of time. Because
The solar wouldn't act actively.
we
itself,
are
and then-
asking for grant funding from MVP for the solar.
Oh, and their requirement is battery.
Yes.
Right.
Otherwise, it would be left to the MBLC grant, and we are already, they are in the budget, but we're over budget by almost the amount of solar panels. So it's still going back and forth, but I'm gonna get the research done before the next select board meeting for the MVP. And see if, because it's that creative piece of it being an electric vehicle and not a standalone building that is more innovative and might give us the edge to get funded through MVP where we haven't in the past. So we will look at all the costs. I think it's about $60,000 for the truck. And then traditionally, those trucks have been 15 years lifespan, and I have to get,
Used in this situation.
well, it won't be used all of the time.
No, I know, but this would stress it in a way that just driving it. It would be a bigger, powerful one. Than just drive.
Yeah,
So would the batteries work?
all those questions are
Yeah, a lot of-
definitely.
a lot of
Well,
questions.
because those batteries are deep cycle batteries, and we can only
Yeah.
use so,
Yeah.
you know, and cold weather affects them, and that's usually when we lose our lights and would need it
Mhm.
in cold weather, and it wouldn't hold a charge.
Yeah. And our current signs, the mileage signs that are up, they have a code that I read, when I drive to work, they're not working yet. They don't get warm enough until, like an
Right.
hour. after.
Right, so it takes them, right, and that's when it's small batteries.
Yeah,
This
that's
is a giant
totally
truck.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, we saw all that stuff happening at Chicago, all those Teslas, where it wouldn't even hold a charge for 3 hours, and it took 3 hours to charge. And it wasn't that, I mean, it was cold, but I don't think significantly cold.
No, they go down a lot. I don't like the crap, believe me, I know.
Yeah, so we're gonna look into it and give it a try, because given the 3 possible scenarios, I think it's the only one that could get funded through MVP. And we don't really have, we would have to run wires. Yeah,
You'd have to have it. at
the battery
backup
backup would have to be, yeah, and the battery backup would have to be quite a distance to be, not in.
I would think I would find it hard to believe that a pickup truck would have enough battery power to make, to
You
be
would have to have a
inadequate.
big one. It would have to be a fairly large, wouldn't be like, it would be a full-size pickup, it wouldn't be a mid-size. I mean, you'd have to have.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, you could do it, I'm sure, so only some lights came on, too,
Right, emergency lights only, you don't have the power.
or that whole thing, but it's just hard for me to believe.
What is the reason that it would have to, it has to have power when the lights go out? The building has to have power?
If they are required, if they fund a solar system, they're requiring battery backup.
Oh, no, I'm saying that the reason we want solar on it, I understand that. And MPP requires the backup. But it doesn't, it's not requiring
Right.
to have the building to have a backup. It could be on a lights are out, no lights, right, lights are out, you can't. Right? So if the lights are out, no one's going to the library because there's 3 feet of snow. Do we have to have it lit up? Do we have to have it?
By MBLC
Yeah,
or
by-
by MBLC, they don't require battery backup.
And they don't, okay, so, and insurance require it to have electricity
No.
when the lights are out?
I've never seen it.
No, I'm just.
Yes, that could be something in the future, I don't know.
I'm just
Yeah.
curious.
Interesting.
Yeah, so we'll have more conversation about this. And if you want to share any information that you might have, Eric, as a long-time electric car driver, that'd be helpful too.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know about that. I'm not an electrician, but yeah. I'd be interested. in finding
Yeah,
out
you have to
more.
see the rated, like you said, what size truck would you need?
Yeah, you have to know how many, you have to know how much you need. How much you
How long
need.
does it charge the truck too? Right,
Right.
because if you think about, this is just another thought, right? You'd have to be able to charge the truck when the sun is out. And I know there's some articles out there that people wanting to go to electric semis, but those take 10.5 hours to charge. And you only get a limited amount of miles on them. So you have to make sure the truck is chargeable during the light hours.
So we gotta put in those high-speed chargers, yeah.
Yeah, you know,
You definitely
those
need
big
a
semis take
machine.
10.5 hours to charge.
But they're gonna require electricity. It's a catch-22, the whole thing.
Lights go out, you have
Yeah.
electricity.
No electricity.
You get solar power when the sun's out, now you have to put snow on the roof, there's no solar power. You're not charging the truck back.
Yeah.
So I got a notice, I got a notice 2 weeks ago that our solar panels were snow covered.
Yeah,
And I went outside and they're almost vertical.
I know,
And there was an inch
Just a
of
little.
snow
Yeah,
just
it only takes a
sticking to
little.
it.
right.
But it melted the next day.
So,
the
but
next
that's
day,
something to
I
think
noticed
about
it was
too.
okay again.
That's something to think about too, because it's easier to have battery storage. Well, you have to think about that, and when a snowstorm comes, you need the truck to operate, but how are we removing the snow so the truck will work?
Well, it will be, that's why, Susie suggested a van instead of a truck.
Right.
That might be useful for kids, you know.
Yeah, I don't know what's available for like trucks right now. I don't even
Well, Ford
know.
stopped making that,
Yeah, no, they're gone.
no one was buying them, they stopped making, people weren't happy with returning them.
Well, I know that Ford's had a lot of trouble with cruisers as well.
Mm,
Well, yeah, I don't know who else was making trucks, I think Tesla might have one. But, yeah, I remember Ford had said they were stopped making them, no one was buying them, and people were returning them.
Okay, well,
Well, there you
that's not a good,
So maybe we should think about other ways. Maybe there's a battery backup trailer, right? You can park it at the highway station and you can slide it across the street when you need it.
somebody following up on your.
Right, that's what I'm saying.
Not temporary, and they might, they know the field, and they get,
Like a temporary. You need it.
yeah.
yeah, no, it's not
If
good.
the trucker works, that should be like a big battery. So backup trailer.
Yeah.
Backup.
And then what do we have to do to the highway buildings for it to be? It's just that I find whenever you have the batteries, they require something. They require like an if it's in a room in the building, it has to have a wall that'll take more than an
I was
hour.
thinking
to
stuff
burn.
and like
Yeah.
a hut.
And
on
mobile.
wheels.
Yeah,
Put it where you need it, like a truck, put it where you need it.
Back
Take
it
it
up.
where you go.
That could be the winning solution. We'll look into it.
yeah,
I think.
That way it's not the vehicle, it's more like what's needed. And it's portable, you can move it anywhere in town.
It's just, we don't want it sitting out, but maybe if it has a sufficient roof and wall.
If it's a hut like, yeah, I mean, I've seen them. Well, this is part of the project they just did on their thing. It was big sun belt generators collecting the electricity and passing it on down in Amherst on Route 9 when they were doing those pension wires. Huge, massive, these weren't batteries, but they were meant to be outside, so I can't imagine there is a battery option that is,
And
I
now
know what
more
you're talking
battery.
about.
yeah, that isn't.
So that's a good idea too. We're gonna figure it out.
I'm sure,
We
yeah,
have to get this.
It has to be on wheels, it can't be there all the time.
Right. It needs to be
Hot
mobile,
on wheels.
or we need to be able to pull it by horse.
You can do
Yeah.
that, you know,
well,
I mean, you still have to feed the horse.
It might be easier than
Might be easier to pull it with a dozer.
just eat lots of carrots. All right, well, thank you very much.
Is that it?
can I ask one quick question, go way back to the beginning here? How many PFAS, how many poets do we have installed now? Do you know off the top of your head?
We're in the
I
hundreds.
don't, no, it's like
Oh, the 50.
40, it was about 42,
Yeah,
43. So I think we're close to 50.
That's the single one, the double.
But it's not the individual tank. I mean,
No,
it's,
no, no, no.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
it's a single.
No, no, I meant that, it's this one. Yeah. Yeah, I was talking about the two work together. Right? When it's one, it works together.
Yeah.
Or when it's two, it works.
All right, so that's all I have for this evening.
Okay, that's it. Do I
Yeah.
hear a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
All in favor? A second, all in favor?
Stalker,
Neil, aye.
sorry.
Okay, Becky, thank you.
Thank you very much,
Bye.
everyone.
Bye, Leslie.
Hi, Leslie, thanks for hanging. Good night, Geneva.
She's not.
Oh, I missed
She's like, I'm out of